And we are back with the next round of Premier League predictions, where the buzzword of the weekend has to be penalty. Of the 9 Premier League games played over the last 3 days, 7 of them had massive penalty incidents, of which 6 of those games resulted in the winning team going ahead from one of their prospective penalties. It's almost as if Michael Massey himself was in charge of these games, trying to find the optimum form of entertainment for everybody watching. And speaking of corrupt officials, I've just watched the Champions League draw where the UEFA official put Manchester United and Liverpool the wrong way round in the draw, which has resulted in Manchester United being drawn away against PSG. Make your own conclusions about that. I've certainly made mine. Let's just get on with our usual prediction setup. So here were the fixtures that took place over the last few days, and here were the correct results, should I say. As you can see, we have Brentford and Watford initially on the Friday night, the first of many games that was resolved by a penalty, this one in the 93rd minute, but I'm not going to complain about this one, as it got me the 3 points on the predictions. As for Man City and Wolves, in my opinion, one of 2 very controversial ones. The other one we'll get to later on. I can understand why the penalty was given initially. I don't understand why VAR didn't overturn it. In my opinion, Wolves were fully deserved of holding on for a 0-0 draw, despite Rafael Jimenez's bizarre antics costing him a red card. But overall, City got the 1-0 win. I get 1 point on my predictions. And we move on. The cleanest game, shall we say, of the weekend in Arsenal and Southampton. A 3-0 win for Arsenal. I predicted 2-0. Not really a lot more to say about that. Southampton seem to be on a really poor run of form again lately. And that may or may not play into my predictions later on in this video. Chelsea and Leeds was, again, full of drama. 3 penalties in total in that game, although, in my opinion, I think all 3 penalties were correctly given. I know Leeds feel a bit aggrieved for certainly the second one, with Cleek kicking from behind Rudiger, seemingly getting the ball, but it's a bit... I think it was a penalty, in my opinion. After what I saw in the Man United-Chelsea game with Wan-Bissaka and Thiago Silva, I think it's a very similar incident, and... unfortunately for Leeds, it cost them the 3 points. Sorry, cost them a 1 point draw. Gained Chelsea the 3 points and gained me a 1 point for that fixture. Liverpool and Aston Villa. Again, Villa put up a fantastic defensive display. Emi Martinez seems to be right back at his best again, pulling off loads of fantastic saves and almost getting a hand on Salah's perfect penalty into the side netting. As for the penalty itself, I thought it was very, very clumsy from Mings. A lot of people I've seen saying Salah went down too easily, but Salah always goes down too easily, and I think there was contact, so for me it was a penalty. Unfortunate, again, for the overall result as a Manchester United fan, but 3 points for Liverpool, 1 point for me. As for United themselves, personally, I was very disappointed with what I saw defensively. Just all round, we looked open at the back, we looked sloppy on the ball. It was very reminiscent of the Ollie days already. Granted, Ranieri's only been there a week, but after what I saw against Crystal Palace, I expected a lot better against Norwich. Got the penalty ourselves. Not really seeing a lot of debate around it. For me, it's an absolute penalty, but I would say that. For me, Norwich, Aaron's grabs Ronaldo by the shoulder as he's about to jump and rips him to the floor. So, no real debate for me. Good penalty from Ronaldo. 1-0 United and 1 point for me. Brighton and Tottenham, of course, called off due to COVID. It looks like Tottenham are going to be more than ready to go ahead on Thursday night this week, so that'll be good for them. Burnley and West Ham, the game where the penalty was not given, and in my opinion 100% should have been given. There was a clear kick on Michael Dawson, and I don't understand how VAR hasn't given that as a penalty to West Ham. So, of course, they've still got to score it, but really, really surprised that wasn't given. Fair play to Burnley for holding out defensively against West Ham. A 0-0 draw for them, meaning I get no points for that one. Leicester and Newcastle, another penalty decision, and in my opinion, another wrong penalty decision. Maddison initiates the contact and then dives over Lascelles. Definitely shouldn't have been a penalty. That gave Leicester the 1-0 lead, which meant Newcastle had to open up second half, and then Leicester picked them off on the break. They looked really good, I have to say that though. Second half Leicester, they looked fantastic. Maddison's back to his best. Tielemans looks as good as he always does. And Patson Daka looks like his transition from Jamie Vardy is now starting to come into full effect. And he looks like a really good striker. So a 4-0 win for Leicester, and real trouble for Eddie Howe at Newcastle, especially considering the fixtures that are coming up for them. And speaking of managers with a tough job to do, Rafa Benitez, it's one step forward, two steps back for Everton as Crystal Palace absolutely destroyed them. I said that after the Manchester United game I expected Crystal Palace to be a lot more open and more aggressive. They were, and Everton simply couldn't handle it. Yes, there were some defensive errors in the lead up to the Crystal Palace goals, but that's what good pressure does. And I think Crystal Palace were fully deserving of the win. Still a lot of work for Rafa Benitez to do at Everton to turn their season around. 3-1 win for them. No points for me there. But overall, I'm not going to complain. Of the 9 fixtures, I was able to predict 7 correct results and 1 correct score, which means we get a total of 9 for the week and an overall season score of 100 exactly. So let's move on to game week 17, and here we go. Starting off with Brentford once again, up against my team, Manchester United. And I've got to be honest with you, I don't have a good feeling about this one as a United fan. Unclear who's going to be available due to our apparent COVID outbreak that we've probably caught off of Norwich, since they had a COVID outbreak before our game. The game won't be postponed because we literally have 30 first team quality players, so there is no way this game gets called off. Even if our full first team was available, I'd say we'd struggle here, but if we're going to have certain players missing, again it's unclear, I'm going to make this my 2-2 prediction. And that is because, despite of how well David De Gea has been playing recently, he is not someone who likes to deal with high balls into the box. And that is Brentford's bread and butter. Corners, long throws, balls up to Ivan Toney, who is going to be available for this game. If my bias wasn't there, I'd actually go for a Brentford win. But I'm giving United the chance as a United fan, and I'm going to go for 2-2 there. Norwich and Aston Villa will see Dean Smith come up against his former employers for the first time. And despite how well they played against United the other day, I'm still going to give this one to Villa. They've been playing really well under Steven Gerrard. He's got them playing well. He's got them defending a lot better than they were under Dean Smith. So it'll be an interesting contest. A more attacking Norwich against a more defensively sound Aston Villa. And overall, I think Villa will just have too much quality, and I'm going to go for a 2-0 Aston Villa win there. The final game on Tuesday night sees Man City against Leeds. A fixture that was thoroughly entertaining both times round last season, and I think it's going to be the same again this season. Leeds pulled off the shock win with 10 men at the Etihad last season. I don't see it going this way. I would never have predicted that last season. I'm not going to predict it this season. Given how good City have been recently and how open Leeds play, I'm going to make this a 4-1 win for Manchester City. Probably the first 4-1 I've predicted all season, apart from maybe the United-Liverpool game. But I think an easy win for City overall, but probably going to be well worth the watch, that one. Moving on to Wednesday night, and we have the return of my favourite club to predict for, being Brighton and Hove Albion. Really tough one. One that could definitely go either way. Wolves have been really good defensively, as we spoke about. Even with 10 men, they held City all the way apart from a controversial penalty. They held Liverpool all the way until the 94th minute before that Origi goal. And they, before that, had 3 consecutive clean sheets. And I'm going to back them to do the same again against a Brighton team that really struggles to score. The lack of Raul Jimenez does make Wolves a little less potent, but I'm going to back them to sneak the 1-0 win away at Brighton. Burnley and Watford is another really difficult one to call. Watford's recent form has been really good, but they have also been conceding goals rather sloppily, and those are the sort of goals that a team like Burnley tend to score. So with that in mind, I'm going to go for a 2-1 Burnley win there. Don't be surprised if Watford get something, but that's just my gut instinct, and that's what I'm going with. On to a fixture that I don't think is difficult to call on recent form, so congratulations Southampton if you do get the win. But I'm actually going to go for a 3-0 Crystal Palace win here. If they play the way they did against Everton, they will steamroll this Southampton team. We did see that Crystal Palace do struggle under pressure, and Southampton like to apply that high pressing line, but at the same time Crystal Palace are a very good counter-attacking team, and if Southampton overdo it, the likes of Zaha will get behind them and pick them off, and I just think this is an easy win for Crystal Palace. I think it's the right sort of opponent for Patrick Vieira's team, and I'm going to go for 3-0 to Palace. On to another really tricky game to call. The first, is it the first of 4 on Thursday, the last of 4 on Wednesday? It's the last of 4 on Wednesday. So the main event of Wednesday sees Arsenal host West Ham in another London derby, and West Ham's form is so hard to predict right now. They're playing well, they're getting good results when they need to, but then they're not getting good results when they're playing against slightly weaker opposition, and it's quite hard to classify Arsenal at the moment if they are a really good team or if they are weaker in relation to West Ham. So with that said, I'm just going to put this one straight down the middle and go for a 1-1 draw. Arsenal, by all means, have the capability of breaking West Ham down. They looked fantastic in their game against Southampton, but we've just spoke about how poor Southampton have been. And on the flip side, West Ham certainly have the tools to keep Arsenal at bay if they play well enough, and have the tools to break Arsenal down if they play good enough. So, hence the 1-1 draw. Whichever team turns up the most will win this game, but it's predictions. You can't know who's going to turn up most, so assume both will turn up and make it a draw. On to Leicester and Tottenham, and again, we've now not seen Tottenham for 2.5 weeks. There is no form to go on. We still don't really know who's had the COVID outbreak in their squads. We don't know who's had 2 weeks rest and who's had 2 weeks ill. So I have to just look at it based on what I've seen from Leicester's perspective, and what I've seen is a Leicester team put in an outstanding performance against Newcastle yesterday, and they'll be fully up for it and fully believe they can beat Tottenham. And that is what I'm going to go for. I'm going to go for 2-1 to Leicester, and think that their form is just going to be too much for Tottenham to handle. Finally, we have 2 games which I think are going to be very easy to call, barring bizarre circumstances. Chelsea should have way too much for Everton. We spoke about how it's been 1 step forward, 2 steps back. If Everton play like they did yesterday, Chelsea will steamroll them. If they play like they did against Arsenal, they'll certainly be able to grab a goal or 2. But I have to go with my gut instinct and go for a 3-0 Chelsea win. And as for Liverpool and Newcastle, I mean, you have to fear for Eddie Howe's team here. Liverpool, granted, have struggled in their last 2 games, but they just have so much quality. It's going to be a matter of when, not if, in my opinion. We saw how well Newcastle did until Leicester scored, and I just think Liverpool will get that goal even earlier than Leicester did. So after that, it will then be open season, and I'm going to go for a 4-0 win to Liverpool. And that will round up my predictions for the midweek games. Drop a like on the video if you are enjoying this series. Don't forget to comment down below with your own predictions for this midweek games. And I will see you on Friday morning, where we'll be rounding up these fixtures and getting ready for the weekend. Thank you very much.